Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar, Best Practices for Maximizing Revenue on Your Amazon Store. Just a little heads up, this webinar will be recorded. We'll send it out to everyone right after this, about an hour or two later. If you guys have any questions, just add them to the Q&A box below and we'll get to them at the end. So I think we can kick it off now. Joined here by Jason Landro, co-founder at Nectar. Jason, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Amanda. As Amanda said, I'm one of the founders of Nectar. We're a full service Amazon marketing agency, so we do everything from creative design, copywriting, advertising management. And obviously today our focus is on brand stores and graphic design and data analysis. So again, thanks for having me.
We're happy to have you here at Packview. Yeah, if like I said, any questions, just add them and we will get to them at the end. But otherwise, I think Jason, take it away.
Awesome. All right, so there's been a lot of chatter in the Amazon community about brand stores. I think a lot of companies don't know whether it's worth investing in building out the brand stores or not. There's a lot that goes into determining whether you should be investing in your brand store, how you should go about doing it, what resources you should put in. And we're going to cover all of that today. But again, here's the agenda, the importance of the store, what makes a good store, what makes a bad store, how to create a great store, and then some strategies to leverage and scale your store. So first, getting into that initial question, should you be investing in your Amazon store? And really what it comes down to is traffic. If you're anywhere close to 6 figures a month or more, you should be investing in your Amazon store because you have enough traffic to justify that investment. What we see is sales on the Amazon store can be anywhere from 5% of your total gross sales and up as high as 20%. So, obviously based on the law of averages, you can, $5,000 or more a month. If you're starting at 100,000 a month, makes it worthwhile to start investing in your store. But the reason that stores are important is one, you can customize each page. So it's the only place on Amazon where you have full control over what the customer is seeing, right? On the product detail pages, you are restricted to X number of images and video. You can only fill in so many bullet points. The title has to be a certain length. The A+ content can only be 5 modules on vendor, 7 on seller. And so you're restricted to what you can do, how you present that content. On your brand store, it's yours. You control how it's presented, how it's organized. You control how to organize the catalog so that you can control the customer shopping experience. And you can gain followers, which is a relatively new feature. And we'll get more into that, but it allows you to continually re-engage with customers that you acquire, which is really, really important. As everyone knows, the hardest part is acquiring a new customer. And then once you acquire that new customer, you want to be able to remarket. Amazon is investing heavily in brands and stores specifically. They just rolled out mobile and desktop optimization on the stores. Previously, there's just really only one way to design. You had to ensure that it was optimized for mobile and desktop, but now there are different views. Now you can, as I mentioned, get followers. So you have that follow button on the store, which I'll show you later. So as a result, you can, Amazon tied in the customer engagement tool. So you can send your followers messages promoting new products with products you've created within the last 90 or 180 days. So it's a way to send new product blasts to followers. I fully expect Amazon to roll out different types of emails in the future, but right now it's limited to new products. Store insights, they've really been beefing up the data that they give you about your store. And we'll go over some of that later today, and new traffic sources. So the point of Amazon posts is to get you to be able to, is to get traffic to your store and get customers to follow your store. And then again, the customer engagement is to be able to send emails to customers who follow your store about new products. And store spotlight ads. It's a new ad unit that came out, I believe, this year, if not late last year, where you can send traffic and sponsored brands ads directly to your store from store sub pages, essentially. Also, it's the only place on Amazon where there aren't advertisements. I maybe not so bold prediction is that it'll change someday, but right now there are no competitor ads, so you control the shopping experience entirely. So it's a great place to really get your message across without distractions. We know customers like to browse, but they don't usually go to one page and purchase. So this is an opportunity. This is your opportunity to give them a chance to browse without getting distracted by your competitors. So now I want to go over what does a good store look like? What does an average store look like? And what are some things you can do to make it better? And what does a bad store look like? Some of these are stores that we've done. Some of them are just stores that I stumbled across. So this might take a minute to load. I'm just going to give it a few seconds. So this is one of the accounts that we fully manage. It's a betting brand, specialized in lodge betting. It's a large catalog. It's over 1,000 SKUs. And that's definitely one of the factors in how you set up your store. What I always tell our employees and even our clients is you want to make the customers have an easy browsing experience. You want them to be able to get where they're going, where they want to go or need to go in as few clicks as possible. And that's a challenge on a large catalog. So really it comes down to planning. How are we categorizing products? Is it laid out correctly? And making sure that you don't overwhelm customers with choices. Like for instance, in this store, we have Shop All, right? So if somebody wants to just browse through tons and tons of products, we give them that option, but we don't overwhelm them with choices on the main pages. What we see a lot of success doing is, sorry, this thing is selling really well as we're heating up into season, and as all of you, I'm sure, are experiencing some logistics delays, but we see really good results with product placement above the fold, whether that's using this highlight module or using different product placements like this. But we find that customers want to take action relatively quickly once they're engaged. So you want to funnel them to some of the more popular items on your homepage, but you also want to be able to tell a story about your brand, right? I get on this page, I know that this brand sells bedding. I see some popular options, and as soon as I get down halfway to the page, I see what some of my options are, right? This brand, as you can see, has a lot more. They have accent pillows, pillow shams, but you don't need to feel like you have to get everything on the homepage. That's not what customers want, right? They have this navigation up top. They can find their way as long as you are organized to make it easy. You want to funnel them to what they're likely to buy, which is based on data. And so we'll get into that more and more. You know, it's good to use your homepage to launch new items, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic. You know, so brands that are doing mid 6 figures a month are probably getting a lot of traffic on their, and higher, getting a ton of traffic on their homepage and store in general. So using the store to launch new products is a great idea. And for this store in particular, we even have a new items page to funnel people to those new items and Amazon exclusive items. And what you can see here is that the branding is consistent, right? The blocking, the pictures, the text, and the way that we achieve this is by using a style guide, so that we know when we're going to design these pages and the A+ content and the infographics, that everything's consistent. That the colors are consistent, the banners are consistent, the buttons look the same. And that's what we want, because customers don't get to touch or see your product in the flesh. They have to assess the quality based on the aesthetic you present. So doing all of these little things add up to a higher quality aesthetic, which gives customers it gives them more confidence to purchase. And that's really what it's all about, is representing your brand well on Amazon. So again, these are some of the high level things that you can do to launch new products or promote seasonal items while maintaining brand consistency and quality. And by the way, this is that follow button that I was talking about earlier. So this is not a brand we manage, but that I stumbled across. Another large catalog. I really like what they're doing. Again, you see everything is consistent. The text is consistent. The button placement is consistent. They've decided to break things down into categories more. One thing that I would say they can improve this store is just a little bit more product placement. But I also like that they've broken it down by shoes and apparel, but then they give you subcategories for training and running, right? So that includes shoes and apparel. So they're really speaking to the different ways, or tailoring their store to the different ways that people shop, right? Some people just look for shoes, but some people are looking to buy a bunch of training and running accessories. So they cater to all of those types of shoppers. So I really like how they've approached that here. Another example of a great store, not one we manage, but is Huggies. We're seeing and we've done some of this as well. They're trying to get people to follow their store because they're leveraging the customer engagement tool. So this is a great way to do that. Just keep in mind that the follow button has moved around. It originally was on the right side, now it's on the left. So just if you're implementing this strategy, just make sure to keep tabs on it. Here, what they do really well is the consistency of branding, but also product placement. This is sharp, it stands out. They give you some options based on what people like, right? Plant-based, newborns, active babies. I really like this, help me find the right diaper. And this isn't for every catalog, but if your catalog lends itself to this, it's a fantastic idea. Or there might be a subset of your catalog that lends itself to doing this, which is basically a guided shopping experience based on the options that you select. And I give this a minute to load, sorry. Right, so you click help me find the right diaper, and then you choose, whether it's rolling, sleeping, newborns, or based on weight, and they help you. It's basically a guided shopping experience. So this is fantastic if your catalog lends itself to it. One of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing on these subpages is still designing and not just listing products, right? So they have a design element here, which is good. We do this on all of our subpages because again, it's about positioning and branding. It's quite honestly a little lazy just to throw up products on subpages. You still want to include design elements like this, which is great. And it reinforces confidence in buying, right? So the Huggies is determined these are the things that people care about when buying Little Movers diapers, right? The Snug Fit, the Double Grit, and they've done a great job of presenting this information in a really easy and digestible manner. So far I've shown 3 different stores that are for large catalogs. So this is a brand that we work with as well. It's a smaller beauty brand. They only have a few products, right? So the approach is very different. You want to create more of an aesthetic, a feel. Often, if you only have a few products, you're probably a smaller brand, which is okay. You've got to start somewhere, but you want to still present that high quality aesthetic. So here we're incorporating some video, value prop about the brand. How does this work? right? And again, even though this is a smaller catalog, the branding is still consistent. The design elements are consistent. And as you click into these pages, you see the same thing, right? So here again, we have a design element up top before we get to the products, which is right here. And here's another example of this is actually just a one-page store that we built for someone for a candle company. But again, this is using some infographics that communicate the main value propositions, giving them an opportunity to go and click through the products right away. So you can still do something with your store if you only have a few products. So don't think that you have to have a huge catalog just to create a store. So now I'm going to get into some stores that could use a little bit of work. So here, just stumbled across this brand. If we go to the home page, we can see that the store is kind of all over the place. There's no consistency with the colors. We have this banner and up top with one type of text, and this image, totally different text, totally different color palette. There's a lot going on here. We have a text block here that doesn't align with the text over here. And we have a product sprinkled in and another product. This is just all over the place, right? This company, is selling a lot on Amazon, but their store is a little discombobulated. And when you go into the sub pages, it's more of the same. There's really no story, no consistency in branding. These images aren't the same color palette, right? This store doesn't communicate to me that they've spent time, that they care about the aesthetic of their brand, even though that might not be true. That's what I'm reading when I look at the store, because of the lack of consistency. Similarly, Rust-Oleum, they've got some good creative elements, but they sell all these different type of products, right? And there are different uses, and that's not communicated in any way on the homepage. I see that they have some aerosols, and now that they have some paint, but there's no mention about the different categories. We get down here to the house of brands, but this is overwhelming, right? I can't navigate their catalog based on this. So instead, I would rather see something like we see on Huggies, with categories or a guided shopping experience, to allow you to know where to go, right? Am I looking for best fitting diapers, plant-based, newborns? See, they have preemie diapers, same thing with Puma in the categories, right? That's where Rust-Oleum is failing here. They're just throwing up a lot of products and content, which looks cool, but it doesn't, in my opinion, achieve the desired result. And then for this beauty brand, it's kind of a different issue. The creative is not on point. This visually is overwhelming. I have a hard time just even reading the text. It's washed out. We have text in the top left corner, bottom left corner, the bottom right, top right. This is out of whack from a design perspective. First of all, you read left to right, so I wouldn't put text on the bottom right corner, top right corner like this. But again, this is almost dizzying. It looks like they have nice packaging, pretty good packaging. They're kind of doing themselves a disservice here. So you need to pay attention to these little things as well. They definitely add up. And lastly, kind of a bad example. You don't want to do this. This is, if you don't have the time or resources or money to invest in building your store, it's better than nothing. But if that's not your brand, this isn't good. This company isn't representing their brand well. They have a lot of I mean, these are kind of a novelty in drinkware, but they could definitely be doing more here than they currently are. So, yeah. So now we've looked through some examples of good stores, average stores, stores that need some work. We want to talk about how to approach building or optimizing your Amazon store. So the first element is research. You have to look at the data, and we're going to dig into how to do that. Then you want to prepare an outline. Then you want to execute. But once you build your store, you're not done. You want to evaluate and optimize. So starting with research. I bucket the research ideas into 3 different categories. If you have market research, that's great. You can also read reviews. Listen to what your customers are saying, what they care about. That matters when you're presenting them with your website experience on Amazon. Store insights are fantastic. If you're a brand that's established, has a store, you need to look at that data when you're going to build your store. And then brand analytics and business reports. If you have a lot of market research, the demographic data and brand analytics might be duplicative. If not, it can be helpful, especially for newer brands. Is your audience male or female? What is the age range, right? Because that can dictate how you design and the style. And business reports. Business reports are huge for how to design your store. So obviously, you know how to, if you have market research, use it. I don't think I need to tell anyone how to read reviews. There are tools out there to download reviews and filter using keyword searches. So you can make that more efficient. So I'm going to skip to store insights. So you can see here that Amazon gives you a lot of data, and you can access this if you go to the advertising console. There's a stores tab where you can access your store pages, and there's a button that says see insights. So when you click that button, this is the homepage it takes you to. And if you can't see this, just shoot me a chat. But you can actually filter by date range. So you can measure, you're getting more traffic, or if you're making changes, you're getting more visitors, more views, right? So that data can be really helpful, as well as sales, orders, right? You might know your average units per order. Is it more or less on the store? We typically see higher sales per order and units per order on Amazon stores. And then within this, so this is just the homepage. I think one of the tools that they one of the data sets that they recently released is the engagement. So you can actually see total views, clicks, click-through rate, right? So this is a strong click-through rate, almost 5%. That's very high. You can see it on an individual product level. They give you your in-stock views, clicks, click-through rate, add to cart, purchases. And so you can actually see what people are buying on your store, which is immensely helpful when going to optimize your store. So I would strongly encourage you to use this data when planning out what product should we feature on the homepage, what category should we be making, right? If you're a food brand and you have different, if you have snack foods and full meals, right? How should you be breaking up those categories? If you see that certain, 5 of the top 10 selling products could fit into a different type of category, maybe you should be making a new category that you haven't thought of, but that caters to that grouping of products. Similarly, you can see the views, sales by page. And so if you've put a lot of time into your store, you can see how each page is actually performing. And you can tie this in with your advertising data as well. If you're spending a lot of money to get more traffic to certain store subpages, you should be evaluating, well, is that paying off? Am I seeing a lift? And you can use the store insights data to do that. Brand analytics. repeat purchase behavior is huge. If you're seeing a high repeat purchase rate, you want to make sure that you're featuring those products, because you know that lends itself to a higher lifetime customer value. Market basket analysis is also another one that is great. You can see, what are people buying? Same thing with in addition to, your products, and item comparison and alternative purchase behavior, same thing. And lastly, demographics. So if you don't have much market research, the demographics can be helpful. You can see here, you can learn some insights. I pulled out gender and age, but there are others as well, like household income, marital status. This can inform you, should I be using more effeminate colors in my palette, or should I be more gender neutral? If you skew older, you may want to make sure your text is bigger in your images, right? So these are things that you should be paying attention to if you don't already have this data. And then the business reports. So similar to some of the store insights, you can also see, hey, these are my products that sell the most. So this is, by the way, Seller Central. Vendor Central has similar reports. If you look at sales by ordered product revenue, it's akin to the Seller Central detail page, sales and traffic by child item. And in fact, you probably get a little more data on Vendor Central. But products that are getting high sessions, that those are your top sellers, right? And if you're seeing a high unit session percentage, which is for all intents and purposes, your conversion rate on Amazon, that those products are good sellers, high converters, and you want to push them, get more traffic to them. So I've sorted here by sessions. Order product sales. These are some of the top sellers. You want to make sure you're featuring some of these products on your homepage. And you can also look at page views. You might want to evaluate, hey, this product sells really well in brick and mortar. It's not getting enough traffic on Amazon. Maybe I should put it on my homepage to give it a little push. Once you've collected all of the data, it's really important to outline. So first and foremost, if you don't have a style guide, you should build one. You want to make sure that your branding on your store is consistent with the branding on the product detail pages and that you're using in your ads. But also, the person who builds your store today might not be the same graphic designer who works on the optimizations, or might not be the same graphic designer who works on the A+ or infographics. And you want to make sure that no matter who's working on it, and no matter when they're working, that they're all on the same page about your brand and how it should be represented, the colors that they should be using, the fonts that they should be using, the voice, right? And that's what a style guide is for. Once you've got that, and that's something actually we build for our clients that don't have a style guide. When they come to us, we build one out for them to make sure that we can achieve that goal of consistency and branding. Then we wireframe based on data and goals, right? What is the homepage going to look like? What are our subpages going to be? How are people browsing through our catalog? So we take all that data and we organize it, and we essentially create a sitemap. And then we create mock-ups. So the worst thing to do is tell a graphic designer, oh, go build out my store. You've got the outline, you've got the style guide, go to work. But if you're creating lots of pages and they miss the mark, you're going to have to redo a lot of work. So we've learned in our process, do the homepage first. Make sure that you, as a company, are on the same page about what it should look like, and go from there. I promise you that you'll save yourself a lot of time. Sorry, I jumped the gun here. So make sure to design the homepage first when you start to execute. And then you want to publish as you finish pages. It can take a long time to build a store. If you have thousands of SKUs and you have to build out 10 or more subpages, it's going to take some time. but I always recommend get the benefit of your work. As long as you're not doing a full overhaul where it's going to look funky if you put up the homepage and it'll look dramatically different than the subpages. I would recommend publishing as you go, but ensure that everything is consistent. And also, if you're running ads and you change up the sitemap, you need to make sure that your ads don't break as a result. Once you've built your store, you're not finished. You want to continually evaluate how is it performing. So you can go back and look at that store insights data over time. You should also be looking at your PPC data, right? If you're running these campaigns, are they getting better? Oftentimes we will look at the PPC performance between store subpages. We'll try moving products around or including different products to see if we can improve the ROAS in the ad campaigns. And then we measure those changes and keep going. But also you can use your store, as we mentioned earlier, to launch new products, do seasonal promotions. So we'll do Mother's Day promotions, Father's Day promotions, depending on the brands, back to school. So there's a ton that you can do, obviously seasonal shopping like Christmas, and you should leverage your store to do that. But you can even create a gift guide on your store if you have a giftable line of products. If you sell tools, you could, create tools for dad, depending on the season, right? So there's a lot that you can really do with your store to continually build and sell more. The question I get asked a lot is what should I expect to see? And it's tough because just because you put up a store doesn't mean that you'll get more traffic, right? So a function is how much traffic are you getting on your listings, and then it's kind of a law of averages. You'll get a certain amount of, if you're getting 1 million views on your listings collectively a month, you're gonna get a lot of traffic on your store. If you're getting 10,000 views a month on your product detail pages, you're probably not gonna get that much traffic on your store. So it's a function of the organic traffic you're seeing already and your ad spend. But typically we see an increase of anywhere from 5% to 25%. I will say that higher percentages for brands that are doing in the high 5 figures, lower 6 figures. And then obviously as you scale up, you're going to see a lower percentage, but the increase is typically significant. All right, and with that, it's kind of the end of what I've got.
All right, well, thank you for that, Jason. Super informative. I almost want to create my own brand store now just to use your tips, but I think I need to learn a bit more first. But just a quick reminder, next week we are also hosting our Q3 2021 CPC report webinar. It'll be on Wednesday, October 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific. You can sign up on packview.com under the webinars. We'll also send out an email to everyone to invite you to it. And with that, I think we can hop into the Q&A. And if you have any additional questions, now is the time to add them. All right, Jason. So how to obtain the best price for the brand page quiz? Amazon mentioned some high prices for customization.
So, I mean, the quiz is, I would have to get back to you on that. You can design it yourself without Amazon. You would have to create a bunch of sub pages. That's what they're doing essentially. When we build out stores, we do a custom quote for everything. We don't have flat rate pricing. The bigger the catalog, the more design work we have to do, the more we charge. So for that type of work, it would depend on how many sub pages you needed for that quiz and so on.
All right, I think this was a question when you were going over the analytics portion of your presentation. Under which heading can you find the demographic data in brand analytics?
I believe it is the first option that pops up. Give me 1 second and I will confirm that. But yeah, I believe it's the first option in brand. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's not. It's demographics. So it's under item comparison and alternative purchase behavior. The subheading is demographics. And I would encourage you when looking at brand analytics data to open it up for a longer time period. You can filter by weekly, monthly, or quarterly. And when doing this type of analysis, I would encourage you to look at a longer time period. And if it's seasonal, you need to be careful. I'm sorry, if your product swings heavily seasonal, be careful, right? Because if you're looking at this out of season, it might not be indicative of how your brand performs and the people that are buying from your brand in the most impactful months.
Right. Next question. For US brands that already have a brand store, is it possible to apply it to any of Amazon's EU marketplaces?
Kind of. The brand store has to be in the language of the marketplace. So for instance, you could, for your US store, you can publish it as is in England, in the UK, sorry, but you wouldn't be permitted to in Italy. You would have to translate all of the graphics, all of the, all of the copy on the graphics into Italian. So it's dictated by the language of the marketplace. So it can be some extra work. Workarounds would be to have an international version with less text so that there's less to translate. So it's just something to keep in mind at the outset.
Right. And kind of going off of that same topic, if a brand's goals to target a specific US geography, do you have any suggestions on how to do that?
To target specific regions, is that the
Yeah, I think that's what it sounds like. Specific regions within the US.
From a brand positioning perspective, I think you can use copy and images that speak to people in different regions in the US. Obviously, people in the South have there are different interests and activities that people in the South do than the North. Some that's based on weather, some that's based on lifestyle. We're obviously talking about generalizations, so you can leverage those differences in your content creation. But in terms of targeting those people, currently, the only way to do that is with Amazon DSP. And you can run traffic to your Amazon store page through Amazon DSP. You just need to have custom creative. You can't use Amazon's default creative options. So you have to create a bunch of graphics in different sizes to run DSP to your store as the destination.
You answer. I was just going to mention we, as far as targeting specific regions, we did a webinar last week with AccuWeather on how you can use weather data to target, down to the zip code, depending on whether it's going to be super sunny in the UV index or whether it's going to be a drought or anything of that sort.
And actually, that's a great example. We work with a brand. We're actually in the process of redoing their store that sells moisture meters. And when there's a hurricane, their sales go through the roof. So the way to leverage that even more is potentially to have a section dedicated to storm related tools, right? So you could build a subpage that kind of speaks to the pain points of people in those regions. So hurricane related tools, right? You might not want to position your brand that way. It can seem a little opportunistic or money hungry in that sense. But I think it kind of illustrates the point that you can position sub pages or even your entire store to speak to people in different regions based on their problems, needs, wants.
All about understanding the customer at the end of the day. So, all right, we have one question from Fabio. Can you send us or point us towards some store designs? We will be sending out this recording, so we'll include some of Jason's, some of them that were good and maybe not so good. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. Outside traffic, has Amazon SEO benefit for product pages, is there any similar kind of benefit to sending outside traffic to a store page?
Yeah, so it's harder to measure. In general, I'm going to answer the question a little bit of a roundabout way. What we're seeing is that Amazon is pushing and incentivizing vendors and sellers to bring traffic from off Amazon to onto Amazon. Obviously, because Amazon then doesn't have to pay to acquire customers or get customers to shop on Amazon, right? The sellers and vendors are carrying that cost, incurring it. Amazon can measure every referral link in terms of outside traffic coming onto Amazon and where it's coming from. So they can measure that you are sending traffic from your from off Amazon onto your store. Being said, I wouldn't recommend it if you're a smaller brand. It adds more friction to the buying process unless you set up your store to be a landing page, like akin to a ClickFunnels page. For bigger brands like Huggies, it can be very successful because people have the confidence to buy from Huggies because they're ubiquitous and known by everyone. Whereas if you're running Google ads or Facebook ads for targeted searches or products, you're probably going to have more success running to the product detail page because that's what people are looking to buy. Whereas when you send them to the store, you're giving them a bunch of options. It might not be necessarily what they're looking for unless you've set up your landing page to be targeted to your off Amazon advertising strategy. So an example of that would be if you're just sticking with the Huggies example, if you're doing diapers for preemies and you build out if that's all you sell and you build out a landing page, or if that's one of the things you sell and you build out a landing page and run traffic for that on Google ads for diapers for preemies or preemie diapers, that's where you could see some success. If not, then you're overwhelming people with options, presenting them with a bunch of options that they're not actually looking for, and you shouldn't expect good performance.
Looks like we have a few more questions. An engaged audience today, which is always good. Do you have any recommendations on how to feature fresh products on brand stores?
Amazon Fresh. Yeah. Sorry, is that an Amazon Fresh question or fresh in meaning like new?
Just fresh products. So I guess products that can go bad. I'm assuming it's Amazon Fresh though.
Yeah, so as of a month or two ago, Amazon Fresh vendors didn't have the ability to create brand stores. I don't think that's changed. In terms of consumable products, I think you need to present it in the way that your customers shop. Right? Stores can be powerful to leverage, to acquire new customers, to give them confidence that you're a real established brand and that you bring value if they've never heard of you, because customers are more aware that there are a lot of scammers on Amazon. So if you're a consumer goods or consumable brand and you want to acquire a bunch of new customers and get those subscribe and saves as repeat purchasers, you can leverage your brand store to do that. There are some options on inside of the store builder. So I got into more of the analytics and planning and side as opposed to how to actually go in and build a store. But there are options inside the store builder to hide products that are currently unavailable or out of stock, but you have to be a little careful with that. Also, for instance, if you're running store spotlight ads, you need to have at least 3 products that are clickable to the product detail page on a subpage to be able to run traffic to that page. Otherwise, it won't be eligible. So there are some things that you have to harmonize. If you have products that go out of stock a lot because of expiration issues or shelf life, you want to make sure that you're running traffic to your sub pages. You want to make sure that you have more than 3 products included on the pages. So maybe you do 2 rows of 3, so that those pages are always eligible in the advertising campaigns. There's just some minor considerations.
All right, I think we have one final question here about the customer engagement tool. Is it still in beta and available? Do you know if it's available to everyone? Yeah.
I think it's still in beta, and I think it's available to some people and not others. We've seen that they've been rolling out these data sets to everyone. So if you don't have it currently, you should have it soon. However, the caveat could be a minimum amount of data. So I think that if you don't have enough traffic and sales, they might not give it to you right now. So that could be potentially be the threshold.
All right. I think that is all we have for today. So if you guys have, if you want to get in contact with us, shoot an email over to sales@pacview.com. Otherwise, Jason, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And just a reminder, we will send this out to everyone in case you missed the beginning or would like to rewatch any of the tips. All right. Well, have a good day, everyone, and join us again next week.
Thank you.